For a first-century Jewish person, the Sabbath is entirely different from a modern weekend. It is the defining weekly rhythm of the universe, rooted all the way back in the Genesis creation story. Keeping it is a loud public declaration of Israel's covenant with God. Over centuries of reflection, religious scholars developed a vast, complex framework of written interpretation to protect this day. They codified the Malachat, 39 distinct categories of prohibited work, complete with extensive subcategories and case-by-case rulings, designed to prevent even an accidental violation. The Pharisees approached these boundaries with intense theological seriousness. But as the list of prohibitions grew longer and more detailed, the daily experience of the Sabbath shifted, focusing more on the technical lines of the law than the restoration it was originally meant to provide. Stepping out of line on a Saturday carries massive weight. To violate the Sabbath is to break faith with the God who rescued Israel from Egypt. It is a highly volatile flashpoint. We see this tension snap one Saturday when Jesus and his disciples are walking through a field of grain. The disciples are hungry. They start snapping off heads of wheat, rubbing them between their hands to separate the kernels, and eating them. Jewish law explicitly allows travelers to forage from the edges of a field. The issue here is the day of the week. The Pharisees step in immediately with an accusation. By their strict interpretation of those 39 categories, picking the grain counts as harvesting, and rubbing the wheat in their hands counts as threshing. The Pharisees are no longer politely observing the young teacher from Nazareth. They are actively bringing legal charges against him and his followers. Jesus bypasses the fine print of agricultural law. Instead, he pulls a story from their own history, the time King David and his men were starving and ate consecrated bread inside the tabernacle. This diagram illustrates the argument. David overrode a strict ritual rule to meet a genuine human need, and God did not condemn him. If Israel's greatest king can do that, satisfying hunger on the Sabbath cannot be a crime. Then Jesus delivers a sweeping declaration directly to the Pharisees. The Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. This is a claim of divine jurisdiction. Jesus is asserting the authority to define the Sabbath's purpose, a role that, in Jewish theology, belongs to the lawgiver alone. The conflict escalates on another Sabbath, this time inside a synagogue. Jesus is teaching. Sitting in the room is a man whose right hand is shriveled, an impairment severely limiting his ability to work and survive. The religious leaders are watching closely. They have set a trap. They want to see if Jesus will perform a medical intervention on a day of rest so they can formally charge him. Jesus takes control, calling the man to stand in the center. Then he turns to his accusers and asks a razor-sharp question. Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it? The question leaves them no safe room to maneuver. Answering do good validates his healing. Answering do evil exposes their lack of compassion. The entire room sits in dead silence. Jesus looks around at the leaders, turns back to the man, and tells him to stretch out his hand. Instantly, the limb is restored to full health. By refusing to heal a man out of adherence to a rule, the Pharisees demonstrate a theology that prioritizes a rigid mechanism over human wholeness. The Pharisees storm out of the synagogue in a fury to immediately begin plotting what to do with Jesus. They approach the Herodians, a political faction aligned with the occupying Roman government. These two groups have little in common, but a shared enemy brings them together. The Pharisees just condemned Jesus for violating the Sabbath by healing a man. Now, on that exact same Sabbath day, they sit down to conspire a murder. The intellectual debate has officially crossed the line into a lethal conspiracy, locking in the political inevitability of the cross. Underneath these two intense confrontations is a remarkably simple theological idea. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. We see two conflicting ways of applying the law. One uses the rules to suppress and control behavior, while the other uses the law to actively promote human flourishing and restoration. When an institution turns its own rules into weapons against the people they were meant to protect, a collision with genuine renewal is inevitable. Next episode, Lord of the Sabbath. Jesus picks grain on the Sabbath, heals a withered hand in the synagogue, and delivers his most direct challenge yet to the religious establishment's authority.